Great. Awesome, everyone. I'm going to get us live on LinkedIn, and then we are going to be rolling. Great to see you all here today. We're going to do this, do that.
Happy Friday, guys. Got people pouring in.
All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Damon Pistolka. With me today, I've got the other co-host in here, partner in crime, on the other side of the country for me today, Curt Anderson. Take it away, Curt.
Hey guys, man, what an absolute honor and privilege, man. I've been looking forward to this for weeks, guys. So happy Friday. This is such an incredible honor and privilege. I want to welcome everybody. We have our Alaska tribe. We've got Dan Bigger, said we started right on time. Our dear friend, Mark Hill. So Mark Hill, thank you for this connection to your favorite cousin,
what's up, Mark?
John Barrows. John, welcome to the show, dude.
What's up, Curt? Hey, Damon. Hey, Mark. What's going on, brother?
Hey, this is super exciting, guys. So first off, I've dropped John's LinkedIn profile, his website, and a killer video in the chat box. Please feel free to follow. You won't be able to connect with John because he's crazy connections. But John, talk a little bit. So JB Sales, Sales Guru, talk a little bit about what you have going on. And then what I want to do is I want to go back in time to 22-year-old John when you started your sales journey. But tell everybody a little bit about what you have going on.
Yeah, so right now, and we can kind of go back to how we got here, but doing sales training. I run a little sales training company here. It's called JB Sales. We got about 10 people on staff, which is crazy to me because I never thought I'd do anything more than just be my own little consultant here. But opportunity knocks, you got to kind of run with it. And we're training some of the, mostly the fast tech startups and some of the bigger tech companies out in San Francisco. So Salesforce, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Box, Dropbox, pretty much all the tech companies, SaaS mainly, are the ones that we're focused on. And we train them on prospecting, negotiations, mostly techniques, right? So it's not about this big, long process or this, gross role plays that you have to go through. It's super tactical stuff that you can put together, put in action immediately, which is what got me attracted to this training in the first place. So having some fun. I'll be honest, COVID was probably the best thing that could ever happen to me because I was on a plane pretty much my entire life. I was 6,000 miles away from $1 million mile mark when everything,
wow.
and that was just on United. That wasn't on JetBlue. That wasn't on all the other ones. So I'm about 2 million miles in less than 8 years. If I never get on a plane for work again in my life, I'm going to be psyched. So this, to me, I got my new office set up, my camera, my everything, and I'm going to be living life behind this camera for the rest of the show. So I'm pretty happy about that.
That's hysterical. You know what? And I caught a podcast of yours. I'm going to say it was like early 2020, right before the COVID hit. And you were talking about how you're intentionally transitioning, and maybe it was even 19. It was like COVID wasn't quite here yet. You were talking about how you were trying to make that transition more virtual, more digital, so on and so forth. So I want to dig deep into a bunch. Man, we have a ton to cover today, John. And again, thank you for taking the time. Of course, I know you're super busy. So I wore a little shirt today for you guys. Dan Bigger, your favorite shirt. I want to be a manufacturer when I grow up. So, John, I wear this shirt frequently, and I wore this just for you because I believe you have an incredible book, and you wrote it with your daughter. And Damon and we're both proud girl dads.
Yep.
Like, can we see what's the title of your book?
Yeah, same one. I want to be in sales when I grow up.
There you go.
Yeah. So I wrote it with my daughter, Charlotte. It's probably about 3 years ago at this point. So yeah,
awesome.
That was a fun little project.
We have a bunch of girl dads. Dan Bigger has twins. Paul Kishay in Jersey. Hello, Paul. You have twins. So again, all of us proud girl dads just completely admire, love what you did. Talk a little bit about that process with Charlotte. Like, what inspired you to write that book with your daughter?
Yeah, so it's funny. Appreciate you asking. I've been doing this for a while, and everybody's always asked me, John, when are you going to write a book? When are you going to write a book? And I've always kind of like rolled my eyes at it because, first of all, I'm not much of a reader here. I went to a state school, drank my way through 4 years of college. So I feel like I'd be a little bit of a hypocrite if I actually wrote a real book, right? And also, like, most books are like 80% fluff and 20% decent. So what am I going to write about sales that hasn't already been written 1,000 times? And so I was also marrying that with, okay, well, how do I get my daughter a little bit more involved in what I do? Because I was gone so often. I wanted to figure out a way to get her involved and at least understand what daddy was doing. And I don't know about you guys, but trying to explain to a 5-6-year-old kid what you do when you're in sales, like, kids know what doctors are. They know what police officers are. They know what all those things are. But when you tell your kid you're in sales, they kind of look at you like, what? So So I figured this would be a good marriage of the two, little project for us to work on. And it married up with a lot of different things too, because I fundamentally believe that sales is the greatest profession in the world when done right, but it's the worst when done wrong.
Yeah.
And the problem is that sales is the default profession. Like most of us go to school to get our degree in whatever we think we want to be when we grow up, right? At 18 years old, which is absurd to ask an 18-year-old kid. Right. Then we get out of school and we realize either, ooh, we don't want to do this, or B, I can't make enough money doing this. So, hey, I'm pretty good with people. I heard you can make some money in sales. Let me try that out, right? And our training is usually, hey, go follow that kid. You know what I mean? Or here's a script. And so like we stumble our way into it, and only a few people actually survive because it's that tough of a profession, right? And I think if we introduced it to kids, because no kid ever actually says this, no kid says this, right? And I want them to. So the three purposes here, one was to elevate the profession from the ground floor. Like I'm doing my best to train kids after the fact, almost like once they come out of school, to give them the skills that they need, but I'm trying to get kids early. The other thing was to get more women into sales, because I firmly believe that women are some of the best sales professionals I've ever come across in my entire life. And the bro culture of sales needs to get out, and excuse me for all that stuff, but it's got to stop. And then the third thing is 100% of the profits on this one go to charity. So I don't make a dime on this. My daughter, actually, she does not want to be in sales when she grows up. She actually wants to be a veterinarian. So last year we were able to get a check to the World Wildlife Fund for about $25,000, which was pretty damn cool.
Nice.
Nice. Dude. Wow. Congratulations, awesome. Man. Yeah, that is absolutely phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Man, a lot of great comments going on in the chat box. We have our friends in Canada. We have Ingor and Gail. Gail's a boy mom. And so Greg, miss you, another great girl dad. So again, guys, thanks for joining us today. So if you're just coming in late, John in Jersey, thanks for joining us. Jeremiah, thank you, brother. You know, please follow John Barrows, 378,000 followers on LinkedIn. John, dude, talk a little bit. It was a perfect segue. So you talk about, you come out of college. What do we want to do? 22, 23 years old. You have a great video. I dropped a video in the chat box, and you talk a little bit in that video about like, hey, 23-year-old John trying to figure out this whole sales thing. Talk about like, how did you fire up such a passion in sales? And then let's go. What I'd like to do is go up to 2013 when you decided to, hey, I'm doing my own gig. I'm going to start JB Sales. Talk about that sales journey that you went through.
It was really an evolution, I think, as like most of us, right? Very few of us are the kind of the natural born and know exactly what we want to do type of thing. For me, again, 18 years old going into college. One of the reasons I went to Maryland where I went was because they didn't force me to declare my major until I was a junior, right? So I was like, all right, at least gives me a couple more years to figure this shit out. And so, and I did everything, right? My first major was actually art. That was my first major. And I realized very quickly that A, I wasn't good enough, and B, I wasn't going to make any money doing that. So then I went into engineering, failed out of that. Then I went into science, wrong, right? And so I was like, marketing, because first of all, it was pretty damn easy. And second of all, it was kind of like the business side, really. I've always been kind of driven, not by money, but I've always wanted freedom. And freedom is like I say, money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure as shit buys freedom, and freedom buys happiness in a lot of ways. So I've always looked, even when I was a kid, right? So I kind of got into marketing. I'm like, all right, that's art, that's science, there's a few things involved here. So let me get out of school. But when I was looking at those jobs, I was like, I don't want to be the assistant to the assistant to the assistant making 30 G's a year and then wait for my 2.5% merit raise to get to be the, you know what I mean? And like 30 years later on the beat. So I'm like, I don't like that. And then DeWalt was, DeWalt, Black & Decker, they right next to Maryland, they recruited pretty heavily out of it. And they had this new thing called the Swarm Team, which was, they positioned it as sales, but it was really event marketing. And what it was I just drove around in a Dodge Ram pickup truck, giving away free tools to construction workers. So it was pretty bad. Like I had to sell, but I didn't have to sell, right? It was more along the lines, I would go to your construction site and I would say, hey, using the Makita drill, hey, why don't you try the DeWalt? And, I'll come back a couple weeks later. And if you're cool, go buy some more of Home Depot, have some fun with that. Like that was my job. It was awesome. But I was working 17 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? So about a year and a half into that, I'm like, all right, this is a little too much. That's when I started and I got my real sales education, which was Xerox. So Xerox, I didn't love copiers or anything like that, but it was an opportunity. And they defined solution selling back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so they had a 8-week sales training program that you went through that was second to none. I didn't know it at the time. I thought it was whatever. Okay, I'm working at Xerox. But after I went through that, I mean, by the way, you could sell copiers, shit. You could sell pretty much anything
Yeah.
out there for crying out loud. Because you have to talk about selling a commodity, right? It's like 45 pages a minute over 42 pages a minute, yay, right? But oh, and by the way, I sold to the government too, so I couldn't even negotiate on contract. My price was my price, right? So that's where I learned solution. That's where I learned, relationship development and how to take rejection. And then I didn't want to do that for very long, and that's when I went off on my own. And my buddy had actually started a company doing outsourced IT services. And I was never a startup guy. That was for those weirdos out in California. You know what I mean? I'm an East Coast kid, and I'm like, nope, put your head down, work your ass off, get a corporate job, be a VP. And I'm not really a risk taker. I'm a calculated risk taker. I'm somebody who can kind of, I need a landing. I'm not like my buddy was, who lived on my mom's basement, ramen noodles type, but that's not me. But they had enough. So I was the fourth man on board. And I was like, that feels better to me, because both my parents, and Mark knows this, both my parents were entrepreneurs, even though they really weren't back then, because nobody thought of it that way.
Right.
My mom was a career counselor, started her own practice. My dad was a consultant for the FAA. So I had entrepreneur DNA, but I didn't know it. And the scratch of me, like just working in corporate, I just didn't fit. And I didn't know why I didn't fit. But I mean, you guys already probably know I have zero filter, and I don't play politics at all. Like if I think you suck, I'm going to straight up tell you suck. I don't care if you're the CEO of a $80 billion organization. If I think you're incompetent, I have no problem saying that in a boardroom, whatever it is. And that obviously doesn't play well in corporate world. So that's where I started with Thrive. And I was taking training and because I didn't know what I was doing. I was 24. And so I was like, so I took every training you could take. I took Sandler, Miller, Hyman, Taz, Spin, all of it. Right. And I came across this one company called Basho. And it was the first training that I loved because it was super tactical. It wasn't, again, this role play, this theory about selling. It was, here's how to send an email, send an email. Here's how to make a phone call, make a phone call. So I used that to help grow Thrive up. And we ended up being the fastest growing company in Massachusetts for a few years in a row. Got us to about 85 employees and about 12 million in revenues. And then we sold off to Staples. So Staples came and bought us. And I spent about a year going through that transition. And to find out, I'm not a corporate guy. Right. So
just reconfirm that.
100%. Right. So they
like it happened again.
Well, after about a year, they offered me another position, which is they fired me. So I was looking for a job, and Basho came knocking and said, Johnny, want to be a trainer? I'm like, no, I don't like. They're like, why not? I'm like, I don't like trainers. Right. And they're like, why not? I'm like, because most sales trainers are either failed sales professionals or professional presenters. I mean, you guys have been through the training, right? Where that guy is wearing the suit that's like 3 sizes too big, doing a role play that's so unrealistic, nobody would ever do. You know what I mean? I didn't want to do that. And Basho was like, don't worry, you have to use these techniques to sell so you can train, so you can get paid. And I was like, ooh, I like the whole practice what you preach thing, right? Yeah. So I joined them, brought on some bigger accounts, took over some of the bigger ones, and then make a very long story short, they screwed it all up and took it over. And I took it over. So that's where I went off on my own about 7 years ago. But to your point of the passion side of it, I don't think I ever really, actually, there is a point where I realized, and it was when I got fired from Staples. It was a big learning lesson for me because I was freaked out. I was an IT sales professional for 7 years. That's what I was. I had no plan B. I wasn't looking at other options. I mean, I had built this company and I bled blue. Like I was the, rah guy and everything. Now I'm sitting there going like, shit, what am I an IT sales guy? Is that what I am? I'm like, gross. I don't even like computers. Right. And so my wife is actually the one who helped me figure this out. And she's like, well, let's take a look back. Right. She goes, why were you the top rep at every one of the jobs that you've had so far? She's like, let's look at DeWalt. She goes, why were you the top rep in the region for DeWalt? I was like, I don't know. DeWalt power tools are pretty badass. Like they're, what I mean? Like I like DeWalt power tools. They're cool. Right? So she's like, all right, well, let's look at Xerox. Why were you the best rep at Xerox? And I was like, I don't like copiers, but I genuinely believed that Xerox copiers at the time were the best copiers in the industry. Right. Now Thrive, my company, I didn't care about computers, but I genuinely believe we were the best at what we did. And so all of a sudden it opened my eyes to realize, wait a minute, it doesn't matter what I sell. It matters that I believe in what I sell. And that was the takeaway for me that I tell everybody. I firmly believe that sales is the transfer of enthusiasm. If you believe in what you sell, it is so much easier to sell. Like if you don't, and by the way, anybody out there listening right now, if you don't believe in what you sell, please get the out of this profession. Because you are the ones who would give us a bad name. If you're just in this for a commission check, if you're just in this for, for making cash, and you genuinely don't give a shit what the solution is, please get out, because you're the ones giving us a bad name. But if you
just wasting our time,
right? Man, this is the best profession out there.
Right. And your cousin Mark says, amen, brother. And you're getting applause from John in Jersey. I know he's speaking your language, John. So this is so good. And here's the irony with this whole situation, Damon. When you look at the list of the companies, you mentioned Google, Salesforce, Zoom, Slack, Glassdoor. I mean, John, you're working with a who's who of
corporations.
Of corporations, sales companies. And the thing is, I could be here all day talking like with your testimonials and whatever, but I found an awesome video testimonial from Salesforce, and an executive from Salesforce says there's not a business development person that goes through our company without going through John Barrows training first. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is so powerful to hear that from a Salesforce. And then she continues, John is part of our culture. So it's such an irony that, you're like the anti-corporate guy. However, you're a great human behavior guy. You understand people. You are deeply passionate about helping folks succeed and helping folks move the needle and believe, like you said, they believe in the product or the service, and you shine that light and bring that out in them. So let's tie into this. So it's 2013. You throw on your own shingle, man. It's time to get the party started. Yep. What was how did that feel? Entrepreneurship, starting your own journey. Talk a little bit about that.
Scary as shit. Well, and this goes back to me being, I think one of my biggest, people say, what are your strengths and weaknesses and those type of things. And I'm definitely not the smartest cat out there by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I think one of the biggest skills that I've been blessed with is I have a very opportunistic lens, in the sense that I can look at a scenario, and within 2 or 3 data points, I can usually make a pretty good decision. I don't overanalyze anything, right? So, and I've gotten in trouble sometimes, but for the most part, I'm pretty good at it. And what had happened was let's go back to when we got fired at Basho. So it was 2007. The economy was doing this. Everything was bad. A new CEO came in. We knew things weren't going great, right? But we figured, okay, well, at least we can chug through this. And, we're in sales. We can figure this out. We'll sell our way through this crap, right? I mean, we do sales training in a down market. Should be pretty decent. But the way that the company was structured, it wasn't really working. So one day, the new CEO came in. And when I'm not joking on this, he walks in the door, and there was about 20 of us there. And he's like, all right, that's it. Party's over. And we're like, what? And he's like, that's it. We're done. And we're like, damn it. All right. So we get it. So what's the transition here? And he's like, I don't think you heard me. Here's a check. Here's a box. Pack your shit and get out. And we were like, all of it. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating on this. I'm like, wait, like right now? He's like, get out.
Right.
So I grabbed and I vividly remember this. I grabbed my check. I ran to the bank because I want to be the first one to get cash. I didn't have any cash left. Right. Yeah. So I sprinted to the bank around the corner. I cashed that check. And then I came back, and everybody else was a zombie, right? Like, oh my God. And kind of doing, and I'm actually working on this keynote now of stop doing what you're supposed to do. Like, so many people just kind of do what they're supposed to do, right? So what do you do when you get fired? Oh my God, I have to update my resume. I have to go, I don't have benefits anymore. I'm freaked out about this, all this stuff. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. This guy is walking, and what he didn't do, he didn't tank the company. He was working on a software that was supporting the training. And so what he wanted to do was, because he was a new CEO and he wasn't the original founder, he could care less about the training. He wanted the software, and I knew that. And so what he did was he just shaved off the entire training part of the organization, went all in on the software. And so I sat there and looked at it and said, this guy's walking away from what used to be a $3 million business with an insane client list that anybody would die for, and a product that everybody loves, and a revenue stream that's already there. Because we had signed these big contracts with Gartner, Forrester, and all these. And like usually back then, what it was is like if we signed a $200,000 contract, it was 50% deposit, 50% receivable. So he had gotten all these deposits from these companies, and I knew he wasn't going to give them their money back. And he had just fired all the trainers. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, So I said, guys, who's coming with me? I went back to my house. I literally said, everybody come back to my house. All the 10 the trainers and the reps total. Yeah. And I said, guys, who's coming with me? I'm like, this guy literally is leaving a $3 million business on the side. Nobody gets to start a business with an immediate revenue stream, client list that people love, and clients that are insane. So I'm like, holy shit. And only 2 guys came with me. They were the 2 trainers. Because we had already kind of had a book of business and we knew the revenue was coming. So it was just the 3 of us. We fired one of them because the guy was weird. And so the 2 of us went to the CEO and said, well, I kind of went to the CEO and said, hey, look, here's the deal. You just fired everybody here. There's a whole bunch of deposits out there that I know you aren't going to give back. And you don't have any trainers to do it. So you're going to either get sued by some really big companies. Right. And by the way, if you're trying to sell your little stupid software to them and you don't give them the training or their money back, there's not a shot in hell. So why don't we do this? I'll start a separate company. I'll go deliver on your training. Yes. You keep the deposits. I'll keep the receivables. And then I'll pay a residual moving forward and everybody's good. How's that? He's like, makes sense. Done. Do it. And I'm like, shit, I got a company. So me and this other guy, I was like, all right, what do we do here? So we fired up a company. And this goes back to my networking days too. Like I had done a ton, Business Networking International early days when I was in my first few companies. I mean, I networked like you read about. I would go to every networking event. I would go to every networking group. I would share leads. I was the giver's gain, all that stuff. And my whole mentality was give. Nice. And when I tell kids today that if they don't network and if they don't do stuff like these type of things, they're missing out, because those relationships, they might not short-term bear fruit. Long-term, they absolutely will. Oh yeah. Because when I needed to start a company, all I did was, hey buddy, I need a website. Done, John, no problem. I'll take care of it. Hey, I need an accountant. John, I'll give you 6 months free. Hey, I need a payroll. Done, John, I'll take care of you for the year. So in less than a week, I had a fully functioning company, and my business partner was like, dude, what the shit? How did you get all this stuff done? I'm like, it's because of all the work that I had done previously. Then I should have gone off on my own because I had the clients that I wanted, and I didn't need that other guy. But but I was scared to go off on my own. Mm-hmm. I still was scared to be by myself, and so I went with him. All the red flags were there as far as him and I being not good business partners. And by the way, another tip for everybody out there thinking about business: don't ever start a business with somebody who does something similar to you. Okay, I beg you for that. If you have 2 people that do the exact same role, you're gonna do this eventually. You need somebody who's sales, somebody who's finance and operations, or somebody who's something else. Because otherwise, I think I can do my job better than you. You think you can do my job better than me. Right. So we were 2 alpha sales guys, you know what I mean? Looking at each other like, I don't know, what the fuck you know what I mean? So eventually we did this. He had a different business model that he wanted. I wanted to do online. And so I ended up, basically giving him the company after about 3 years, and then going off on my own about 7 years ago. And that's where, so it wasn't as scary as, oh my God, I'm starting my own company from zero, which a lot of people try to do. So,
Man. The thing that's cool about this, though, John, is you saw a vision of what at least tomorrow or the next quarter looks like, or the next year look like. And you just went after the vision. It's like, I know where I'm going. Don't know how to go there quite yet, but I'm going. And because I see this is the best opportunity for me today. And that's what so many people forget, is that, hey, I don't need to know exactly where I'm going. I just need to go that next step and take it.
Yep.
Right. That's the biggest thing. What's the next step? And then take it. Don't sit there and, and crap your pants thinking about the risk and all this other stuff.
No.
Take the next step and do it.
Just do it. Just do it. If you fail, that's fine. And I'm a huge Gary Vaynerchuk fan. One of the things he always, he professes is, he did this whole thing where he went to nursing homes and met with a whole bunch of people kind of towards the end of their life. And he asked them questions, and he said, and his big takeaway obviously was, nobody at the end of their life ever says, man, I wish I didn't do that thing that I did. Right. Yeah. Everybody always says, I wish I did do that. Right. So I'm not going to be in that. First of all, I'm not going to go in a nursing home. But second of all, I'm not going to be that person if I am in that nursing home being like, man, I wish I had taken that chance. I wish I had done that thing. Yeah. Because that's just I'm not leaving this world with any regrets. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's awesome. Because you could be that guy in the nursing home with that little gleam in his eye going, I bet that guy lived.
Yeah, exactly. So John, man, lots. Okay. So we got man, we could be here all day. So what I'd love to talk about now is you do high level trainings, you do on-demand training. So again, guys, I dropped John's LinkedIn profile, his website in the chat box. I'm dropping it again. Please follow John on LinkedIn. But what I'd love for you to share a little bit, man, you have your 12 guidelines, your principal guidelines, and I know we don't have time to go through, all of them in a deep dive. I'd love to scratch a surface here because we have a lot of folks that are consultants or in manufacturing. We have my friend Gene, Val. Hey guys, happy Friday. Mike Bird is here today. Kevin, share a little bit about your 12 guiding principles with everybody.
Yeah, this is something that I came up with a while ago. I had read a book called Think and Grow Rich. I think you guys probably know it, right? Napoleon Hill.
And
read it multiple times.
I got to reread it because I forget where it talks about. And I'll put them in here, by the way.
Right here.
Damon's got it right there.
It is to me.
I got the new one. I got to reread it here.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
But in there, I think there's something in there where he talks about like values, like know your values, right? And I remember doing that early on, and I wrote down 12 personal guidelines to success. And they were, it was a good action. And I actually recommend everybody do that right now. And I mean that because COVID, I think, is an opportunity for all of us to reset.
Yeah.
And kind of look at things of what's important to us now. Like, cause again, going back to, I think a lot of us were going through the motions for a while there and just kind of doing what we were doing. And I think COVID, hopefully the silver lining of it is it got a lot of people to reflect on what really is important, who really is important to them, work-life balance, all that stuff. So I think it's a good opportunity now to reset what your core values are. But I was able to put them down and what it did for me, and I can go through a couple of them, but they're like people, it's like work hard and smart. Like people say always, work smart. Like, no, yes, but work your ass off. Like people ask me all the time, like, John, what's the secret to success? There's no secret to success. I told you, I dragged my way through 4 years of college. I couldn't pass a test right now if you asked me to, but I will outwork you. I promise you that. I promise you that. Like there's nobody that will outwork
all day.
me, right? So that's one of them. What goes around comes around. I'm a big believer in that one. Like, so that you don't try to screw somebody now because, for whatever reason, the universe is a weird way of bringing things back around to you. Find your passion or find something else to do. People talk about like follow your passion. Wrong. I think that's the worst advice you could give a kid coming out of college is follow your passion. If you told me to follow my passion when I came out of college, I'd be a stoner artist on the side of the road. Like, you know what I mean? Paint stick figures for crying out loud. But find your passion.
Yeah.
Or find something else. Find it and then follow it. Right. So these are all things that I used for myself. And what it did was it helped me make decisions.
Yeah.
So anytime I was looking at an opportunity, an employee to hire, a client to work with, I would marry up my values with theirs and see if they matched. And if they did, fantastic. If they didn't, piss off. Because if we have shared core values, we can argue all day long, Curt, about something, but you and I we're still going to be able to go grab a beer afterwards, right?
Exactly. Right.
If we don't have shared core values, man, we're just going to argue.
Right.
And that's, by the way, if I macro this out right now, think, why are we arguing right now as a society? We don't share those core. It used to mean something to be an American. It really did.
Yeah.
Like if right, left didn't matter. You asked me what it was like to be an American back. Think about 9/11, right? All of us. It didn't matter what color. It didn't matter what creed. We all were like, because there was a core value that all held us together. Now you ask the right and the left, what are the values of being an American? And they are so diverse, which is exactly why we're yelling at each other. And there's no respect anymore for people and having these kind of type of conversations.
Yep.
Well, John, on that list, and one that I absolutely love and resonate is the your 1%. Mm-hmm. Talk about the 1%, and like that is just. And I know I've heard it from other folks, but I feel you do a great job of like really taking a deep dive in that. Share with everybody your 1%.
Yeah, that one came from the book Raving Fans. So Raving Fans by Ken Blanchard, right? He talks about know who you are, know what your customer expects from you, and then add 1% every single day, right? And the whole concept of that is, I've heard people argue, don't focus on trying to get 1% because then it's demotivating when you don't get better. It's like, it's a concept. Shut up.
Yeah.
The idea here is trying to, you guys said it. It's like, just try to get better. You know what I mean? Like, you had said this, Damon. It's like, every day, I just try to get a little bit better than I was the day before. And if I can genuinely look at myself at the end of the day and say, John, were you better today than you were yesterday? Then I had a good day. If I wasn't, then I got to reset for tomorrow.
Right.
And this is across life. This isn't just business. If you are not evolving, you're a dinosaur
You're dying.
and you're gonna
Yeah.
die.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna die a painful death here. So to me, it's just about constant evolution. I give, it's the same thing when I give, you know, I'm not going to too many weddings these days, but anytime I go to a wedding, my piece of advice to the couple getting married is always the same. And it's always never make sure that today, your wedding day, is not the best day of your marriage.
Right.
Because so many people it is, right? Think about it. The marriage, oh my God, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. And I got these horses walking me down and petals flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're in love. And then a week later, it's like, and all of a sudden the relationship starts doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason I married my wife, because we weren't perfect.
Right.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? But we were getting better.
Right.
We were getting better. And that's the whole thing about 1%. Like I'm trying to test different things. I'm analyzing different pieces of my mannerisms, my talk track, my weak words, my ability to, you know, do certain things, educate myself on stuff, and just trying every day to get a little bit better. And do I do it every day? Absolutely not. Are there weeks where I don't get better? 100%. But I have the mentality of getting back on track.
Right.
Yeah.
That, man, dude, that is so
Incredible.
powerful. I absolutely love that, man. You would love our other John Baglino in New Jersey. He calls it, he's a great salesman, great product that he sells. He calls it hunt the relationship. Don't hunt the sale, hunt the relationship. And I absolutely love what you're saying there. You do. I absolutely love this. So we have a lot of folks down here. So we target, you know, we speak to consultants, manufacturers. That's what our stick is here on our program. And, you know, obviously COVID threw manufacturers a huge curveball. They relied on trade shows for years, sales reps on the road. And as you well know, that all came to a screeching halt. Now, in your world with SaaS products, you know, they are digital savvy. You know, a lot of manufacturers, they're Gen X, they're baby boomers. They are not tech savvy. So this really hit them hard. Share a little advice for like that manufacturer out there, maybe that consultant that wasn't real savvy on sales. They built a nice business, but this really threw them for a loop. What's some sales tips and advice that you would give these folks that relied on those trade shows for decades, you know?
Yeah. I mean, first, I think you need to reset of where are you in your career, and can you ride this out?
Right.
Because look, I'm going to be dead honest. There's plenty of people that are on the back nine who can ride it out for the next 3 years based on the 3, 4, 5 years, based on the relationships that they've developed and referrals. It's going to be declining. There's no question about it. So if you're at that stage, I honestly don't think you need to freak out that much. You probably should try to figure out a couple of things here. But if you're in this a little bit more for the longer haul here, you know what I mean? You got another 10, 20 years in your career at least, man, you better figure this stuff out. You better figure out video. You better figure out like all the tools that are out there. So one of the things is I'd recommend just grabbing some kids who are, who are manufacturer reps, who are newer in the space, and seeing how they use technology. I mean, there's so many resources out there right now. It is a little bit overwhelming because of like, who do you talk to and what do you do? But I mean, you can learn anything right now, and you can learn it overnight. All you got to do is care.
Right.
So, one of the things, for instance, it still kills me that, that people don't turn on their videos when they have Zoom calls. I don't fundamentally understand that. So here's some tips. Here's some very tactical things. We used to be able to walk into your office. So Damon, I can look at your office, right? Like if I'm in your office right now, I can probably look around and say, oh, hey, you're a fisherman. I fish too. The old school crap. We've lost that ability right now. I don't have that ability anymore to do that. Guess what? Flip it over. Put stuff in your background that relates to people. Nice. You got to start doing other stuff. So for instance, right, there's Jordan right there. Mark, what's up? Chicago all day long, my brother. Even though I'm a Boston kid, I was a Jordan fan growing up, right? That's Teddy Bruschi right there, the Patriots. That's that's Pete Rose baseball. That's Wade Boggs beer can. Those are all things that if you guys see those and you relate to those, you're gonna be like, oh, Jordan fan. Oh man, John. So now I'm building rapport different than I was before. Right. So we have to start strategizing around these little nuanced things, and also reading people. Here's one for everybody. And this one's a website that I would highly recommend everybody here check out. It's and I don't get any money for this, by the way. It's called Crystal Knows, and it's not a drug site. So it's Crystal, KNOWS. What it is, it's a disc profile. So Curt, say you and I are connected on LinkedIn, right? Yep. There's a little Gmail plugin, or there's a little Chrome plugin where I can click on a button. It analyzes how you write and it tells me exactly how to sell to you. So it gives me your disc profile, tells me what you like and don't like, tells me what stresses you out, how to interact with you at the various stages of the sales process. So before I meet you, Curt, before we meet virtually, I put your name into Crystal Knows. It tells me everything about you, because if I can adjust, there's something out there. I'm a big fan of the psychology of sales, not necessarily any sales books or anything like that, because techniques and all that stuff, those things come and go. What doesn't come and go is how people buy. And so there's one book that I'd highly recommend everybody. It's called Influence by Robert Cialdini. It's a book on it's a book on psychology. It's not sales, but it's all directly related to sales. But there's another one called neuro-linguistic programming. So there's a study out there called Selling with NLP, the Unfair Advantage. And the whole idea there is there's two types of words in the English language. There's sensory words and there's digital words. Digital words are words like analyze, benefit, capability, change, that type of stuff. They do nothing to wake us up, but they make us sound intelligent. Whereas sensory words connect with our senses: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And there's three types of people. Visuals talk fast and they use their hands to communicate. Auditory is a little bit slower paced. Best way to sell to an auditory is over the phone. Because they want to talk. They send 1 or 2 line emails. Kinesthetic, much more slower paced, much more active listeners, write detailed emails, but never want to talk. And so if I can figure out your communication style and I can adjust mine towards yours, you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable with me, and I'm going to get you to open up a little bit more. So all these little things, the psychology of remote selling and getting into other things like video selling with tools like Vidyard or like LinkedIn videos. I don't know if anybody's doing these right now, but LinkedIn video is about half of my pipeline. So you can go on, Curt, if you and I are connected on LinkedIn, on your phone, and anybody can do this. You don't have to pay a dime for it. If you and I are connected, I can obviously type a message. Hey, Curt, what's going on? There's another button on there where you hit a plus sign and it drops down and there's a video icon there. You click on that video icon, you flip the camera over and I can do a video. Hey, Curt, what's going on, man? I've been following you a lot on LinkedIn. I noticed that you posted something recently about this. I wanted to reach out to you because actually we can support doing that. I thought it'd be worth the conversation, man. Give me a call back here. That type of thing. Like LinkedIn video has been out for over 2 years. I've been talking about LinkedIn video for 2 years. I get 300 emails a week in my inbox, in my emails, not emails. Maybe 1 a week is video. So now, don't get me wrong, your audience has to be on LinkedIn. So some manufacturers might not be. So, but that's where you use a tool like Vidyard, right? Like, it's a free tool, Vidyard. You plug it in, you do a little video, screen share something, send it off to somebody, nice little personalized message there. These are all things that we got to figure out.
And this is Greg Mishu, dude. I think you're reading my notes here. So John, I dropped an awesome video that John did early 2020. John, you talk about marketing is content, sales is context. And again, I know I want to be respectful of your time. Share a little bit about that statement right there. And how do you tie in, or how do, for folks that are in marketing on the marketing side, how do you marry those two?
Yeah, I stole this one from Gary Vee too, right? He talks a lot. He's like, everybody talks about content is king, content is king. He said, fine, if content is king, then context is God, right? And that to me is marketing and sales. Marketing is content, sales is context. If we as sales professionals are not putting any context around our content, we're no different than marketing. So blasting out template emails, right? Content. I don't need a sales rep to do that. I got millions of tools that I could write automated email scripts to and let it fly. I don't need a sales rep to do that. Demos, like, holy shit, demos are the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Demos, literally, and here's a demo. Like, every demo is exactly the same. I mean exactly the same. I go through probably 2 or 3 a week just because I want to stay up to date on stuff, and they all go like this. Hey, John, is this still a good time? First of all, if I pick up the phone for a scheduled call, don't ask me, is this still a good time? I picked up, why would you give me that out? Like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom right now. Why don't we push this till 3 o'clock, right? Now, what you should say is, hey, do you still have 30 minutes? Do you have a hard stop at 2:30? That type of thing. You want to know that. But they say, is this still a good time? Okay, well, I got about a 30-minute demo here that I'd like to go through with you. And if you have any questions as we go through it, just let me know. Okay, right? And then they press play and they go through every slide like they were badged for in boot camp. And they pause intermittently going, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Anybody ever said no to that question, by the way? Anybody ever been like, wow, what you just said there blew my mind? Nobody ever says no to that. They go, but I still ask it, right? And at the end of one of those piece of crap canned demos, they always give us this nice little parting gift. And by the way, here's another tip for everybody. If you ever hear this word at the end of one of your demos, you've done a miserable job. And it's the word digest.
Digest.
Oh, no, yeah, that's the.
You know what, John? I'm going to need a little time to digest what you just told me right there. Why don't you circle back in a couple? If you hear that, stop and apologize to the person you just wasted there. It is our top.
Yeah.
It is our job to help them digest the information.
Yeah.
So going back to context, say you got a 30-slide presentation. Nobody cares about all 30 slides. They care about the 5 of them that are most relevant to them. So context is, what do you want to get out of today's presentation? What's going to help you make a decision here? What should I focus on? All right, let me skip through all this crap and focus on that, because that's what's going to help you differentiate. If you tell them everything, I don't care how great everything is, it all gets averaged.
Yeah.
If you highlight, I wrote a blog post called Sell to the 20%, which is my fundamental belief. Pick any product or service you own. I guarantee you only use 10 to 20% of the functionality, whatever that product or service is.
Yeah.
So because of that, that's how I believe people buy. They only buy the 10 to 20% that's most relevant to them. So let's figure out what that is, and then let's sell to that. So context, take the marketing material, and before it hits my desk, tell me why it's important to me. When you do a presentation to me, cut it in half and tell me and ask me what's the most important part. All these pieces, right? Social selling. Here's an easy one, by the way, a small one for everybody on social selling. Here's a nice little hack everybody can do, especially for Gen Xers and above like me who thought social selling was a joke when it first came out.
Yeah.
Like when social selling first came out, I was like, fantastic. Yet another thing I got to do to be successful in sales here. Add it to the list, right? And the whole idea of tweeting and posting and stuff was just stupid to me. But when I started looking at it as educating myself first, I should be educating myself on my industry, on my personas, on my clients, right? So what I started doing was leveraging the social tools to learn and then sharing what I learned with my context.
Right.
You don't have to be the content creator on social. You have to be the content curator. That's it.
Oh God. What, when, why, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Wow. I'm just sitting here laughing because John, it's so funny. You got the demo down to the T on that one.
Or my elevator pitch, right?
Yeah. She's
I
like,
can still do my elevator pitch. By the
yeah.
way. I could still do my elevator pitch from Thrive Networks. You ready for this one? Hi, this is John Barrows with Thrive Networks. We do outsourced IT support for small to mid-sized companies in the Boston area, and we take a really unique approach to manage your IT infrastructure by combining the best of what people and technology have to offer. We tie our network operations center and our managed services to your environment so we can take care of all the small things on a proactive basis. So when the engineers come on site, they can take care of the higher level, more strategic initiatives, help drive your business forward. I'd love to talk to you about your IT support needs. If you could call me back at 617-529-7271. This is John Barrows with Thrive Networks. That was 20 years ago that I came up with that. I can still say it like
that is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you do that 400 times,
a week for 5 years.
Dude. All right, so let's do this.
I just feel naked.
I caught you on a podcast where you dropped that digest, and I'm sitting here thinking, all right, how many times have someone said that to me? I know I always use that excuse when I'm trying to get out of a phone call.
Exactly,
dude. I've thought about that. I had that on my list. I'm so glad you brought that up. So think about that, guys. We're on a mission now to not end a phone call where someone tells us, let's digest that. That's our new war cry. John, I want to wrap up your frequent rejection document. I thought that was so powerful. Can you just share that real quick with everybody?
Yeah, everybody has a frequently asked questions document. I have a frequent objections document. Like the thing with objection handling, and this is the training that we do. Like there's no rocket science to objection handling. It's just science. Write down an objection that you're getting smoked on. Right now, go into Google and do this revolutionary thing and type in best way to handle objections. There's like 1 billion blogs about like different objection handling techniques. Find a couple that you like, you know what I mean, that you think resonate with you. And then the next 10 times it comes up, deal with it this way. The next 10 times, deal with it that way. See which one works better for you. So the thing about objection handling is I still find it hysterical that reps react to objections. Like I guarantee you, I could write down 10 objections that all of us get all the time. We don't have any budget for this. It's not a priority for us right now. Send me information. What you name it, whatever. Like they're all there.
Right.
But yet every time we get them, it's like, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever heard this. Let me figure out what to say in the moment. Like, I know exactly what the objections are walking into a scenario. Like, I'm like, all right, I'm about to meet with Curt. I'm at this stage of the sales process. I'm up against 3 other competitors. I know I'm the highest price. So he's probably going to push me back on price. What's my approach to this going to be? Right. And I'm going to either preemptively address it. So you don't have that objection. I'm going to say it before you do, or I'm going to clarify, hey, Curt, you tell me, oh, John, we don't have the budget for this. Well, Curt, help me understand that a little bit. Like, what do you mean you don't have the budget? You mean this isn't a budgeted thing, or you literally have no money as a business, or it's just not budgeted right now. Like, help me understand what does budget mean for you, right?
Yeah.
Oh, John, this is too risky. Well, Damon, could you help me understand what does risk mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, like these are all things like, so,
Right.
so I have, here's all my objections and here's the best response I have to each of them. Now, do I go by a script and say, oh, you said this? No, but at least I have them back here to be like, yep, this is the one I'm probably going to use on this one. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Great advice. Great advice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just said here, it's like literally, this is one of those we could have a 3-hour conversation and still be laughing at the end, dude. So much fun.
This is just phenomenal. So, all right, guys. So what? I dropped John's LinkedIn profile again. John, talk a little bit. We're going to wrap up. I keep saying, I think this is the third time I've said it. We're going to close out, I promise, on this. Share with everybody how to reach out to you. Talk about your, you have on-demand training. So guys, you just got a little sliver, just a taste of John Barrows' expertise. Just bombshell after bombshell has just been laid out. So much value, so much help for us, John. Talk a little bit about your training, what people can expect going through your training process.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So I just dropped something in there that's something we're doing next week, as a matter of fact. So we're doing a workshop next week. It's December 7th. This is going to give you like 3 hours of straight fire, like tactical stuff, mostly focused on prospecting. So we're going to do prospecting, social selling, personal branding, and those type of things. And they're going to get access to all of our content. So we have a whole on-demand platform that has literally everything we do. It's Netflix for sales. Every program, every piece of content we have out there, you get access to that for a year. And I'm moving towards a different model next year, as far as I'm not going to be delivering face-to-face personalized training for each client. I'm now going to an open model. So I'm going to be running standing trainings, live open trainings, the first and the second week of every month. It's going to be $1,000 per person, but it gives you a year's access to all of our content, plus weekly AMAs, plus my live sessions. And if you join that on the 7th for $365, you get the full year of $1,000 with my live training as well. So that's one way. There's also, if you just hit us up on YouTube, LinkedIn, we get with the amount of content that we put out there for free is bananas. So you don't have to pay a dime for half the stuff we put out there. So actually 90% of the stuff that we put out there. So easy. And by the way, if anybody I'll put this in here, the fastest way, if anybody wants any free consulting from me, hit me up on Instagram. My Instagram handle is John M as in Michael Barrows. That's where I do all my one-on-one consulting and coaching for reps and stuff like that. So anybody can hit me up there as well.
Awesome. And then you also have Make It Happen Mondays, right? Your podcast. Almost flirting with 250 episodes. So I absolutely love that. Make it happen. That's your tagline.
Yeah, we just hit 1 million downloads, so I'm pretty psyched about that.
Awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Good for you. And I love on your website, activate your greatness. So guys, what we're going to do is we're going to wind down. So John, first off, dude, man, you are a blessing, man. Thank you. But this was just, I have a page of notes here. Guys, I hope everybody just savored this, just absorbed it. Just thank you for sharing your passion, your brilliance. Mark Hill, your favorite cousin out there. Thank you, Mark, for making this connection. Mark is such a great dude, our friend in Chicago. So John, thank you. Say hello to Charlotte. We wish you guys a wonderful holiday season. And guys, we're going to close it out on that. So Damon, man, I can't even, I got to catch my breath after this one. So John, thank you, brother, man. This was just off the charts. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks again, John. I'm going to go off of LinkedIn Live here, man. We have the comments have been rolling over here on LinkedIn Live. And I there was even StreamYard had some trouble getting us going live, and I had to restart it. And I think we've got 150 comments or something like that, because it's just rolling. But thanks so much, everyone, for watching us on LinkedIn Live. Thanks, John, for being here today. We're going off of LinkedIn Live. We're going back to the tables at Remo. So we will be back again next week with another great guest. But thanks so much today, John.
Thanks, everybody.
Stick around, John. Stick around, and John will be at the tables. And so, guys, thanks. Have an awesome weekend. Go out and keep crushing it. Thank you, guys.